Welcome back, YouTube. I am Balamage, and we are back with another build guide. This time we are doing Beastmaster. So the idea of this build was basically just have as many pets as possible and walk around with my menagerie destroying things for me. It ended up working out that I do have to be part of the fight with this build, which is a bit interesting for a minion build. The playstyle is they do a lot of the damage, but I do have to be in the fight, hitting things with melee. So we'll go through the minions that I have picked first, then the gear, and then the tree. So, minions that I've picked to start with, we have started with the wolf, and we have just gone straight up front-loaded damage as much as possible. So we've got attack speed, more damage, multiplicative with other bonuses, crit chance, multiplicative with other bonuses, and you may have an additional wolf. I've not needed the additional companion because of my setup, though it is an option that we will get to later. The next one we've got is Sabertooth. We've done the same thing, front-loaded damage as hard as we can possibly go. Straight up damage, straight up more damage, crit chance, crit multi, attack speed, hit hard, hit fast. Then we've gone into the bear, same deal. Straight up damage, crit chance, crit multi, a swipe on a cooldown, lower the cooldown of the swipe, and straight up more melee damage. There is 2 extra points in the bear that do nothing. They're not important. I ended up putting them in bears have 100 health and stun avoidance, which was irrelevant because he was never dying before anyway, and bears retaliate with thorns, which is almost irrelevant because the thorn is a spell. We haven't really scaled it very well, and it doesn't really do that much damage. So not super important for those last 2 points, but they had to go somewhere, and these were the most efficient points that I could find. Then we had our own melee attack, which we have to have. So we've taken 1 travel point here to get here for 100% increased area of effect and some incidental damage. We've taken these for travel because we needed them. We've taken this one for swipe grants aspect of the panther, increasing our attack speed. More attack speed from aspect of the panther. A lot of crit chance. And 2 points into the crit multi. You could drop these attack speed nodes and go more into crit multi for your own damage, but I only do about as much damage as 2 wolves put together that I can tell. There's no tooltips, so I'm really just guessing from how it feels, but it feels like I only do about as much damage as 2 wolves, and you can see I've got 3 wolves, a bear, and a sabertooth, so there's a lot there. My damage is decent, but not as important, so however you want to go with that. You could also go with where are you? Serpent Strike. You could also go with Serpent Strike here as your own melee attack if you wanted. It doesn't really matter. It's up to personal preference, but I've enjoyed Sweep more because it's got this wide AoE here where it's not very long, but it hits around in a semicircle here, whereas Serpent Strike hits more this long, thin area. And I just prefer the wide swing, but that's definitely going to be personal preference. You could definitely use it if you want. This one, probably the single most important skill on my tree right now. The build felt really bad until I spec'd into leap. This is really important. Specifically, I spec'd into give my minions a bunch of damage when I leap, which is great because I leap as often as I can. Some attack speed for me, which I just like because I like attack speed, not super important. And most importantly, pack leader. Summoned wolves and sabertooths leap with you. This is deathly important. It really does not feel good until you've got that. We had some extra points that weren't really important, so I ended up getting this one for a chance to reduce the cooldown of leap so that I could leap more often. I think that's the best use of my points. And then there ended up still being 3 points left over, which I just put in area so that it makes it look larger when I slam the ground with leap. Those last 3 points are so unimportant, you can put them anywhere you want. So the important part here is when I leap, most of my minions come with me. Right, onto gear. So nothing important, all rares. I've gone with a polearm for damage because I wanted to test out both sweep and or swipe rather, and serpent strike. But you definitely don't need to use a polearm. You can use any weapon you like, whatever is your preference. The important parts here is I've got this helmet, which gives me +1 maximum companion, which I am actually using. It is important. And I've got the Fang, which gives me +1 maximum wolf, which is important, as well as 60% minion damage, because I've got 3 wolves and it's 20% per wolf. If you don't have this one, you can get away with it anyway by speccing your wolves into slightly less damage and coming down 3 points in here to get this one, which is +1 maximum companion. That will get you away with it without the helmet until you get the helmet, and then I would suggest respecking into this tree so that your wolves do more damage. Right, over onto our passives. We're gonna run over them pretty quickly. We'll go into Primalist, where we've started in straight up strength. Your minions deal 30% increased damage and leech melee. +1 maximum companion. It does come with the drawback of half damage leeched, but we pick up enough leech that we don't care. And then we needed a few extra points spent in this tree to move on, so I've ended up with these 2 nodes, which seem to have almost no effect at all, and these 3, which is just a little bit of damage. To be fair, this effect is doubled, so for 3 points it is 24% damage. Still not super impactful, but you have to take something to get out of Primalist, so that's what I went with. Then I've spent all my points in Beastmaster. So we've gone strength from here, Claw Guard, which is important, 15% less damage taken because I'm not using a shield. This is definitely a layer of defense I appreciate. I've taken 1 point in here for travel and 4 points in here because that's how many I needed to progress the tree up. That gives me another 12% leech. I could easily drop another point in there if either I or my minions needed more leech at some point. Minion attack, cast, and movement speed. Anyone that's played a minion build in any other game will know the more movement speed your minions have, especially when they're melee, the better they feel. It may not necessarily be the best, most damage efficient points on the tree, but for me it's definitely the most feeling good efficient point on your tree. I don't know, the more movement speed they have, the better minion builds feel to me, so I have maxed that. That was important to me. We've got flat damage added to me and my minions from Axe and Claw here. We've taken +1 maximum companion, with the drawback of your minions deal half damage unless you have hit an enemy with a melee attack recently. Recently refers to the past 4 seconds. So as long as I'm doing melee attacks, my minions are fine. When I don't, they become half as effective. We took some strength and melee damage for me and my minions because I needed a few extra points to progress, and those are pretty good. I could max these out with more points later. And then we took 100% increased critical strike chance with melee attacks for minions because I'm scaling crit and crit multi for the minions. Just straight up front loaded damage as much as I can. Then there are 2 options from here that I've sort of split my points between, and you should probably focus on one or the other first and then get the other one. There is crit multi for your minions for more raw damage, and then there is this one, which is like a resident sleeper OP. As soon as your minions start to take too much damage, this is what you want, because at 14 points this grants your minions dodge rating that you don't care about, but a chance to receive glancing blows. And as we all already know, glancing blow halves incoming damage, and if you max this, I think it ended up at like 92 or 98% or something glancing blow chance for minions, so that's insanely good. This will be a decision when you get here to decide whether you want to go for more damage first or more defense first, but they are both really good nodes and I would max them both out. If I were to keep leveling past there, I would probably get the rest of the strength because everything is scaling with strength and it's important, and then I would start looking into probably going up the druid tree for more life. There's not a lot in the other trees that we're super excited about. A lot of points here in Beastmaster are just really good and totally worth it, and there's just a lot to spend in here. I didn't feel the need to swap my trees around. So let's go and run a map real quick so we can show you how it works. I will say that the clear is only just okay for mapping, though the single target is insanely good. So we use leap as much as we can, and we get involved with the fight. So it's almost like playing a melee that's backed up by an army of minions. Now you can see they don't AoE very well, though they do a little bit, especially the bear. but our single target is much better. Much better than most builds I've played so far. I think probably just because I've scaled crit and crit multi and upfront damage as much as I possibly can. They feel like they do a lot of damage. And yeah, I kind of just wish they had a bit more like area to their attacks so that they could clear really well. Important note is when they're not doing what you want, target the mob you want and hit A. A is your pet attack button, and it forces them all to go in a certain direction. Also, leap will just bring them to you, so that's important. Now, I feel like I personally do about as much damage as 2 wolves. I think I mentioned that earlier, which is not a lot of damage when you've got a bunch of minions like this, but it's still enough that I can take down little packs of little guys all on my own, even though I'm a minion build. It seems like I do enough damage to get by, but I definitely wouldn't want to fight a boss on my own. They are all of the single target damage. It's just insanely high. Oh, I went the wrong way. What I will say also is that if I were to make this character again, I would focus a little bit more on movement speed. Some of my gear is quite suboptimal. I've got a really garbage ring on. I've got this other one is also garbage and only has 3% move speed. I've only got tier 4 move speed on my boots, and leap has a much longer cooldown than a lot of the other movement abilities. So you're going to end up running more than you do on a lot of other characters, which means I would be focusing on a bit more move speed if I were to do this again. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. It seems like a very fun build, a very strong single target build. As you can see, we just destroy those high health mobs. It's quite fun. There's a lot of crit numbers on the screen. I really enjoy seeing crit numbers. I am waiting for them to give me the option to only have crit numbers show up and not all my non-crit numbers. It's a little hard to tell who's doing what damage with how many numbers are on the screen, but that's okay as well. And ta-da, we're done. So yeah, really did enjoy it. Definitely not the fastest clear speed. If you're after the fastest clear speed ever, this is not the build for you. But if you're definitely after minions and you like them, it is solid, it is fun, the single target is high, you can obliterate single target bosses just in split seconds. It's really good, and so far it's the best I've been able to make any Primalist. I really struggled with Druid. I didn't give Shaman enough of a go to say that it's garbage yet. I really need to focus on Shaman quite a bit more to test that, but Druid was a struggle for me, and Beastmaster has gone really well. So yeah, super excited about that. Do enjoy it. I definitely can't wait for more trees to come out. I will say one last thing is that the bear is probably my weakest point. I would definitely experiment in replacing him with Summon Scorpion or Summon Frenzy Totem if either of those had a tree. But since they don't right now, the bear is still my best option. But as soon as Summon Scorpion or Frenzy Totem get themselves a tree, I will definitely experiment with them over the bear. Bear is the last thing you should get. So yeah, that's that build. We will be trying another build tomorrow. That's the end of me focusing on this guy. Still haven't decided what build, so if you've got some preferences of builds I haven't already covered in YouTube, do let me know in the comments, because there's so many builds to do right now and I'm really struggling to pick the order in which to do them. So if you've got a preference, let me know. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you want to see more content, other things that YouTube people say at the end of their videos, blah and I will see everybody later.